समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
How can you read the writings on the wall in pole-bound West Bengal without even stepping out in Kolkata? I will show you how. You come with me nearly 600 kilometers away from Kolkata, north, to the Siliguri corridor. The narrow 60-kilometer, or if you stretch it right back to North Dinajpur district, 90-kilometer strip at its narrowest about 21-22 kilometers, joining the Bengali mainland to its Himalayan and Dwars districts to the north and the east, respectively. And more precisely, we begin with the walls of Naxalbari. If anybody kept track of these things anymore, we would now be observing the 59th anniversary or the beginning of the 60th year of the armed Maoist uprising that began right here, this precise week in 1967. That's why the first writings on the wall that we read are in village Bengaijot, part of the Naxalbari cluster, where the Maoist insurgency saw its first spark. A farmer's protest, police firing, the death of 11 in the police firing. Serendipity or reporter's luck? I came here in that anniversary week and found two old comrades busy giving a fresh coat of paint and a vigorous jhadu pocha or a scrub to the storied memorial to that lost revolution, where busts of Marx, Lenin, Angels spelt Engels, never mind, Stalin, Mao, Charu Majumdar, and Saroj Datta stand. I have deliberately excluded one for now, and you will know why. The first five were the grand deities the revolution prayed to. The last two were its local founder and his successor, respectively, that is Charu Majumdar and Saroj Datta. And then the name I excluded mischievously, but here we are. This standing shoulder to shoulder with Mao is Marshal Lin Biao, or Biao now, the strongman boss of the Chinese PLA and often seen as the second most powerful figure in the Communist Party of China, CPC, until one day, all of a sudden, that is 13th September 1971, he was gone. The aircraft carrying him and his family crashed in Mongolia in what history knows as the Lin Biao incident. The official Chinese explanation was that he was fleeing after a failed coup, or the so-called Project 571. That 571, in a way, in Chinese language, represents armed revolution. As with much of that communist history, doubts and arguments persist, but it's believed he was escaping to the Soviet Union. By this time, as we all know, a Pakistani brokered thawing had taken place between China and the US. Moscow was therefore estranged from Beijing, and a Chinese dissident escaping to Moscow, therefore, was seen as logical. Nevertheless, Lin was condemned as a traitor, charged with planning a coup along with Mao's wife, Jiang Qing. Both were consigned to the CPC's Hall of Shame as counter-revolutionaries, but not in Naxalbari. Here, Bengai Jot is probably the only such spot in the world where you will find Mao and Lin next to each other, and the history does not bother Pune Singh Rajbangshi. See him on your screen, a scheduled caste comrade sprucing up the memorial for the anniversaries, Naxalbari's uprisings 59th or beginning of the 60th year and 156th of Lenin's birthday on 22nd of April. How can you have Lin Biao with Mao? I asked. Because Lin Biao and Chairman Mao, our chairman, were great comrades, Rajbangshi says. But didn't Lin betray Mao, who in turn had him assassinated? I persist. No, that's propaganda. It's that Liu Shaoqi who conspired against Li, he says. Now Rajbangshi was firm. I did not remind him that Liu had died almost 2 years earlier. Why argue with the faithful? On the memorial wall, meanwhile, another old comrade in a significantly higher spiritual state is sticking pre-painted wallpaper that says, translated from Bangla, There is no liberation through votes. Liberation is only through revolution on the path of Naxalbari. This days before Naxalbari voted, 92% people in Naxalbari went out to vote, which is about the same percentage, same average as for the entire state. Vote is the only revolution that people believe in now. Naxalbari is where the revolution rose. It's also where it lies buried. In 2021, the Naxalbari seat, went to the BJP. Its candidate Anandamoy Burman winning by nearly 71,000 votes. That's humongous for a Vidhan Sabha election. And no surprise, he netted 58% vote. About an hour's drive off the highway, we catch Burman doing a door-to-door campaign in Matigara. The constituency is now called Matigara Naxalbari. The soft-spoken school teacher and lifetime RSS Karyakarta says the revolution brought people nothing but misery and it's over. It was long over. In this West Bengal election, the left is in a dead heat with the Congress for the wooden spoon. They'll struggle if at all. Their best hope can be to somehow get to double figures. This also exactly when the latest avatar of the Naxals in East Central India has been entombed. Either people have come out and joined normal life or they've been killed. Far in the south in Kerala, the left fights double incumbency. And unless it pulls off an incredible surprise on May 4, we could proclaim the conclusive marginalization of all left in our independent history. The United Communist Party of India, by the way, had won 16 Lok Sabha seats even in the 1951 general election. The end of armed communism was a matter of time. The marginalization of the mainstream left is self-inflicted. They were taken down by just one sentiment from their peak of 53 seats in 2004. Anti-Americanism. In fact, if you added their allies with them, it came to about 62 seats. They pulled out of the UPA and tried to pull it down, even joining hands with the BJP over the nuclear deal, BJP and Mayawati. They've only rolled downhill since. They, as in the left, they've only rolled downhill since, the Pinarayi Vijayan exception apart. In so many decades of disagreeing and arguing with the left, I've always found them civilized, open-minded and good-humored, but unchanging. In 1988, I was intrigued that the communists in Beijing and Moscow were changing, but not in Calcutta, as it was then called. The question took me to Calcutta then, working for India Today. My abiding memory is sitting with State Secretary Saroj Mukherjee under portraits of Lenin, Stalin, Marx, the usual suspects. Deng Xiaoping and Mikhail Gorbachev have changed their communism in China and Soviet Union respectively. Why aren't Indian communists reforming? I asked. Because my communism, Saroj Mukherjee said, because my communism, he said, looking up at the portraits as if for inspiration, is purer than that of Deng and Gorbachev. You can find that article in India Today archives. If you find it, we'll share a screenshot with you. Almost 2 decades later, one of his successors, Buddhadev Bhattacharya, tried to change that as well. I had 2 long walk-the-talk conversations with him and asked him inevitably how his invitation to private and foreign capital squared with his ideology. My ideology is my belief, he said. But I am not running a revolutionary government. I have to work within my constitution, which means my country's constitution. Now, that was change, but not the kind the ideological base of the party was ready for. The mass campaign against his planned industrial townships, Singur and Nandigram, was led not by his political opposition, but ideological comrades far to the left, many of them from the intellectual chic. For them, this was a betrayal. They killed his dream, Buddhadev Bhattacharya's dream, burned his party, and Mamata Banerjee rose to bury it. The BJP is building its new home over that grave. Even in that most unlikely event of Pinarayi Vijayan salvaging Kerala, this election cycle will mark a most dramatic demise of a formidable political force. And if somebody did manage to build a mausoleum or a memorial for India's left, the epitaph could read something like, "Because I let doctrine become my dogma and ideology my obstacle." That too will be a writing on the wall, even if it's something that I am imagining right now. Now, Naxalbari is mostly forgotten, but Siliguri is top of the mind. The BJP has made its vulnerability a key electoral plank, linking it to demographic change and dovetailing it neatly into its polarization pitch, Hindu-Muslim pitch. The BJP's point is made somewhat more understatedly by Rajya Sabha MP, BJP Rajya Sabha MP and former Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla. And I quote him, "The sensitivity of the region makes any further demographic change a problem." Infiltration, he says in a conversation, continues because too much of the border is still not fenced in sensitive areas. That would refer mostly to North Dinajpur, where the corridor begins, and North Dinajpur is Muslim majority. West Bengal's 2,216-kilometer border with Bangladesh is mostly fenced, but 569-kilometer remains open. This is data from Ministry of Home Affairs. Some is riverine, but 456 kilometers can still be fenced. It remains open because the state government, he says, has not released the land as yet. The vulnerability is Prime Minister Modi's campaign pitch, and senior security officials posted here also worry. Bangladesh or Nepal won't invade India, and if the Chinese dare to come down the Himalayas, they will be decimated. You can be sure of that, a top commander says. But then, and I'm quoting him anonymously, but then we saw the farmers hold the capital under siege, even the Shaheen Bagh protest. So you can lay siege to a highway, to a railway, and you can block all connectivity. Anti-CAA activist Sharjeel Imam's speech, where he called blocking Siliguri neck and cutting off Assam the duty of us Muslims. I'm quoting from his speech. I heard it once again today. The duty of us Muslims, especially because Siliguri mein Muslim aksariyat hai. Siliguri has Muslim majority. That has left a scar. In my book, it still doesn't justify his long incarceration because you can't jail young people indefinitely for stupidity or maybe bringing disgrace to their IIT education. But it has fueled, that speech has fueled the BJP's polarization proposition in West Bengal. This infiltration hyphen demographic change hyphen national security hyphen polarization is the dominant strain in the entire BJP campaign. Development takes the second place. The one area, as we go around looking for writings on the wall, the one area where the BJP do not have an answer to the Trinamool Congress or TMC is leadership. While Mamata Banerjee is a Bengali titan and probably the hardest, the most skillful campaigner in the country today, the BJP is true to its recent approach, not projecting an obvious leader in a state. It doesn't have one either in Bengal. It is seeking a vote against Mamata Banerjee and for Modi. Further on the leadership issue, Mamata Banerjee delivers a 1-2 punch on the BJP because she also has an heir apparent, nephew Abhishek Banerjee. We catch up with him at Kanthi, formerly known as Kontai, about 150 kilometers from Kolkata, past what would have been a bustling Nandigram industrial zone if it had not been thwarted by the ultra-left under Buddhadev Bhattacharya. Now its endless natural green is broken by islands of plastic green as farmers have dug pits and started aquaculture. Abhishek has the style and panache of his aunt, makes a grand entry to a platform set some 25 meters ahead of the stage, bows to the crowd, and delivers a 25-minute assault on Amit Shah and Narendra Modi and the BJP in that order. The slogan we hear most often is, and please forgive me if I don't get my Bangla pronunciation right, Je Lorshe Shabar Dake, Se Jitabe Bangla Make. The one who fights for everyone's call is the one who fights for Mother Bengal's victory. The TMC has made it a fight of Bengal versus the BJP and Bengali versus Hindi. As we turn the corner, wading through the returning crowds at Kanthi, two young policemen in blue uniforms stand out distinctly. I lean sideways to look at their shoulders to read which police force are they from, because police forces have come from all over the country. 2,407 companies of paramilitary forces have come in. What I read on their shoulders is winners. Please see it on your screen. It says winners. Now, what kind of a police force is that? And if that is a private security agency, these young women look too fit for that, and they also exude far too much authority for mere private security guards. A 5-minute conversation tells us the story. The BJP's big criticism of Mamata Banerjee is over women's safety. Mamata Banerjee has therefore created a specialized female cadre within her police force only to look after women's security across the state. cities and villages. And she has personally chosen the name for this cadre of uniformed young women, winners, in all capitals. You read something in just that one word about what's at stake in this campaign. Writings on the wall don't just come on the wall, they can also come on young uniformed women's shoulders.